So here we have, in the previous video, we created an output value, and we saw that this monthly payment column got generated. So let's click on Run, and try to run this test and see what happens. So it's putting it's putting the new loan amount and interest rate. I clicked on Calculate, and it's checked for the output value, and it closed the browser. So we cannot actually see anything happening, but it really did check for the output value, okay? Now, if we want to see this happening physically, we can do a debug run, something called a debug that you'll be doing a lot as you go along. So let's click on debug. Debug run will help you to see each step as it's happening. So I'll show you what I mean. If you click on debug, if you do step into, click OK. Now, if you click on this step into sign, or if you hit F11 as your shortcut, it will execute line number 1. So let's click on that. So it opened up the browser, and it paused on line number 2, because this is the magic of debug run. The debug run won't go further until I tell it to go further, to go to the next step. So we can actually execute each step one by one physically and see what happens by physically clicking on this button, or again by hitting the shortcut F11. So I hit F11 again, and it executed line number 3. It navigated to mortgage calculator. Let me keep hitting F11. So it did put the home value, 100,000. Let me check, and yes, it did. Right now the loan amount is 250,000, so I need to execute line number 5, and this will change the home value to 80,000, right? So let me hit F11 and go back and check, and yes, it did put 80,000, and so on and so forth. F11, 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 and it did click on calculate, and now I'm at line number 9, which is the output value. It will check for the output value. It will capture the result, whatever exists here, and it will put that, or it is supposed to put that value in this column here, right? So like I said, during runtime, it will capture the value and put it here, only during runtime. Right now we're in run mode, right? So we're running the test. So we should see that happening, and we expect to see that happen. So I execute line number 9 by hitting F11, or by clicking step into. And I can see that it executed line 9, it captured that value, and it stored that value in this column, right? Trust me, I didn't do anything special, just executed line number 9, it captured that value and put it here. So I click on step into again, and again, and now it'll close the browser, and it did. It will now stop the run. Yep, so the execution is now ended, and as soon as the execution is done, you'll see that that value is not there anymore, because again, this is a runtime value. So that's another magic of output value, is that runtime value. Now, we have just captured some value from the application, and depending on the input that we provide, but why do we even need to do that, right? If we are testing for something, then we definitely have to have some kind of expected value, something that we're looking for, right? So let's say that my test case is something that gives you the information that you need to check for, right? So I want to test for that based on my input of $100,000 value, home value, of $100,000 home value, that the loan amount and the interest rate for a loan rate over several years, that based on that, the monthly payment should be $944.89, right? So what if I get $1,000 here? That means my application is not functioning properly, right? So as a tester, I have to test that my application is functioning in the expected way, and I'm getting the expected results. So if I want to check that this is exactly $944.89, what do I do, right? So I have to use that value that is getting captured. I use a value that is getting captured here in this column. And this here is a global sheet. So if I want to read that value, what I have to do is, if I want to use that value, I can basically say, I can use an if-then statement. So if you need further clarification on if-then statement, look at the VB scripting tutorials, VB scripting videos, before you start looking at these videos for QTP, or of these videos at least of if-then statements and descriptive programming. So VB scripting should be studied first, so that you have a basic baseline understanding for you to use for your descriptive coding, and then come back and complete these videos. For now, it's fine. But for the next video, try to look at the if-then statement first. So if I type if, then I'll see it automatically puts in a structure. So a structure gets generated, if then and end if. That means this is a predetermined structure. So that means this is a predetermined structure in VB scripting in QTP. So if I say if, then there has to be a then, and then I have to close this if statement with end if. Again, look at the VB script tutorials for clarification on that. So within the if then statement, I can say, let's name a variable, say output value. Let's say this output value variable is equal to my checkpoint. And the checkpoint is this here. The value that I'm looking for is my checkpoint. Data table dot value. That means read the value from the data table, and then read which column. So we have to say which column. The column name, which is within our code, monthly payment. Close the quote, comma. And then we have to say which data table we are looking at. So global. The global data sheet is what we're looking at. So DT global sheet. DT global sheet. Close the bracket. So we're saying that we're asking to store the value of the monthly payment in a variable called output value. And then I'll have all of this outside of the if-then statement. So let's actually move that. Output value is equal to, so I store this variable, and then I give it a value. And I'll take the value from here, right? So now within the if-then statement, let me drag this down so I can see. So I'll say that if my output value variable is equal to 944, start our quotation, $, $944.89. Close the quotation. So I'm saying that if my output value, if this value is equal to $944.89, then print means print something for my information. So print pass, else, that means otherwise, print fail, right? Simple. So in the next video, let's try to execute that and see what is happening and if we get pass or fail printed. And then we'll play around more with that output value and do a lot of things with this. We can compare it with something else and so on and so forth. Thank you.